will just be going round in circles.
Does it not look like a mirage to you? Because most new administrations also carry out an audit of the civil service. Yeah, new government. Oh, we have a bloated workforce. We need to, retrench some people. We need to ensure that ghosts are not receiving salaries and all of that. But does it not put to, test or doubt the credibility of these auditors themselves? Because if you say you are auditing and then you give the report, or maybe in the process of auditing, they also got infected, with the evil in the civil service. I don't know how to even put it because there's so many things right in my head. It appears every single element of the civil service has been infected, doesn't it?
Okay, you just talked about the auditors. Are the auditors Americans?
Whoever they are.
They're Nigerians. So you're Nigerian, I'm Nigerian. So it's about the system. That system needs to be purged. And I tell you, if the government wants to do it, it's about the will. Do you want to do it?
But you just said Nigeria.
You will step
They are going to make use of Nigeria. Or are you invariably saying that maybe they should bring a foreign, an external auditor?
It's not possible. Everything that we want, we have here. So you need to find those people who are... There are people in the civil service who are upright. Don't you believe me?
Maybe in the minority.
So why don't you deal with those people? Find a good number of those persons and use them to sanitize the system. You can't bring something or someone from outside to say you want to sanitize a system where people have operated in for close to 3-4 decades. You must use the people inside there. And there have to be penalties. There have to be consequences, for the things that people do. So I'm saying to you, it is the will. If the government, the federal government, I know that the man who's there, if he says he's going to do something, he wants his name to be written in gold, he definitely will find a way around it.
But there is this issue of IPPIS, and people kicked against it. There's issue of TSA when it was introduced by the Goodluck Jonathan administration. People are still beating that same system because they believe that this will help streamline and guard against, ghost workers and all of that. But here we are, we're talking about it. They're still beating the system.
People will kick against whatever it is that you do. That is the truth. Remember when it was COVID that we all had to stay home, or some people had to stay home, we were out working and all of that. Some people said, look, I'm not interested in whatever vaccine or whatever it is that you're giving people. They stood against it. Some didn't take it up until today. I don't want us to go into that conversation. So I'm trying to say that people will kick against something. You just talked about TSA. In my state where I am, my governor does not play with TSA. You don't have a choice. Whatever happens, you have to go through that TSA. That is it. Even before you have any conversation with him, you have to deal with that issue of TSA. And I think some other governors are doing that also. But I tell you, these things that have happened, they've had this unbroken sequence for a long time, decades. You're not going to stop it in one day. You will start. The journey of 1,000 miles, it actually starts with a step. And I think this is a step that has happened, and it's one step in the right direction. So it's just for us to support it. In our little corners where we are, even in private organizations, you find that people subvert a lot of things. Right. People do all sorts of things, and it's about greed. It's about greed, and it's what the society has actually... We've become so monetized. Everyone is thinking about money. You're saying to someone, okay, there's a job opening somewhere and so person is needed. These are the requirements. The person is asking you, how much are they going to pay me? Are they paying me in hard currencies and all of that? But you're not saying to yourself, what am I bringing to the table? I always say to people, place value on yourself first. That value that you place on yourself, it's a premium, and it will attract what it is that you're worth and more.
And due to this minimum wage conversations, we've had talks about the productivity of the average Nigerian worker. But for this particular incident, let's talk about accountability, how we are going to retrieve this money, if it's actually, possible. The head of service said that some of those that were not available for that verification exercise had to, resign from the system, which is a step in the right direction, if I would say. But it's not only those who had to, go and come back. What about those that were authorizing this? How do we bring them to book? I'm sure the elder brother or the uncle of this taxi driver is still in Nigeria. Where do we start from as regards ensuring, deterrence, ensuring that these individuals that even aided or better this situation should be brought to book?
No, you're talking about recovery. And I'm laughing. How are you going to do that? The money that's gone is gone. I don't want to be a pessimist as it is, because except that man wants to be sincere to himself, he now has to gather the money and say, look, I'm paying this back. And it will give him a lot of credibility. But who wants to do that? When money has actually left the coffers and gets into somewhere, it's going to be difficult for you to get that. The idea now is, how do you stop this from happening over and over again? You just mentioned the gentleman who is actually his boss and his relative. How did he even mention that the man is his relative? You've only just put the man in trouble. If that man is still in the system, I think they need to go after him, investigate, and find out exactly some other things that have happened. I'm also thinking, if he left, did he go on sabbatical? Sometimes you get paid something if you leave for a while officially to say, I'm going to be away for X number of years. If that's what has happened, that's fine. But if he just woke up, picked up his bag and left, I don't think that's something nice. So the system just needs, I keep talking about the system. We keep going back and forth on this issue of the system. It needs to be done. There was a time they talked about, sanitizing the civil service. I don't know how far that has gone, but so much is going on there. You waste man hours. You waste the time of government, and government pays you for that time. You're doing some other things. You have other businesses that you're doing. You have other things that you're doing. Yes, people will say you need to have other streams of income. But for me, I say to people, even with the people that I work with now, I don't know what else you're doing apart from the job that you're paid to do. You need to focus on that and give it your best. But if you find that you're not getting fulfillment and you're not getting well remunerated, as it is, many of them say, oh, the money is too small. I say to them, why don't you just put in your paper and take a walk? It's better for you to go to a place where you are appreciated than where you think you're tolerated. But I tell you, as some of them will say to me, DG, it's not easy. Where do you want us to go? And I say to them, emotional blackmail. There must be a place where you can go to. You cannot say, this is too small, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that, and you're sitting tight there and not giving.
They're probably not used to the checks and balances that you may
and they probably don't have KPIs also, because you go to places where they give you your key performance, index or indices as it is. You've got to work towards that. What are your deliverables? What are you doing? At the end of the quarter, what would you say that you have achieved as a person? I'm not sure they're saying that in the civil. So something needs to be done. Something needs to give. And I hope it gives as hard as can be.
Well, Olamide mentioned the issue of national minimum wage, which we now talk about as a living wage. And we see Labour, federal government, the tripartite committee, all, jumping, aiming for each other's throats. So do you feel that this issue of new minimum wage will not be a thing of issue if we have the workforce streamlined? Those who are alive are actually the ones working, because I use the word alive advisedly, because if you are still alive and then you are not there, you're collecting money from outside, I assume that you're not alive because you're still a ghost worker. So what do you think what conversation do you think this might bring into the haggling about what the national minimum wage should be?
I don't want to agree to that word haggling. They need to just come up with something. And I tell you, the national minimum wage, if it happens now, even with the way that we are, with the stipend that some people are still collecting, look at what it is when we talk about purchasing power right there in the market. When this minimum wage or national minimum wage, when they meet at a center and say, this is what we have agreed, they will never get to agree as it is. But if they agree, will it change exactly where we say we are? That's the big question we need to ask ourselves. No matter how much it is, we'll still have some of the problems that we have.
That's right. Well, so many things to talk about.